Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of ZGN Talks. I'm your host, Emiliano. This is your host, Mitchell. And, today we're going to be talking about the honeymoon phase in business.
Roll the intro. So just a disclaimer, we are by no means a relationship advice channel. We are not certified, and any 19-year-old that thinks he's certified on teaching life advice like that, do not listen to them. But a way that I would like to compare a pretty much relationship and business is through the honeymoon phase. Now, you guys are probably thinking, how in the world could you relate, a honeymoon phase of a relationship to business? You were probably thinking that at first too. And so say you just met someone in the first few months of the honeymoon phase. Hopefully that honeymoon phase lasts way longer, potentially forever, to each their own. But pretty much when you're first with someone, those first few months, you feel a different type of energy, towards them than you would later on, if you want to kind of expand off that.
Yeah, so pretty much what the honeymoon phase business is, it's like a relationship honeymoon phase. When you first get into business, you get a little bit of traction. You're on top of the world. Think everything's going to be great. Think you get a Lamborghini in a couple of weeks. Mitch and I had some really funny moments. When we were in a honeymoon phase, or what I would consider our honeymoon phase would be when we first got a little bit of traction on Shopify, which we did at 17 before we went into having an Instagram page, flipping those. But pretty much when we were doing Shopify, we were getting a little bit of profit. I wouldn't say anything crazy. I wouldn't consider it really a big success. But we're getting enough traction to where we thought everything was going to go well and we were going to be rich overnight. And that's what I would like to call the honeymoon phase, is when you first get a little bit of traction, you just think it's all up from there and everything's easy. There's going to be no problems. But little do you know, around the corner, with more revenue and more numbers and more growth, comes a lot more problems that don't exist on a small scale when you're first doing stuff in the honeymoon phase.
Yep. And I remember you pretty much explaining, this was at the time where I wasn't really into business. I'd flip products every now and then. I would still do a little bit of eBay, but I wasn't really thinking what Shopify, what's drop shipping, what is running advertisements, just taking your own product off foreign sites, branding it, making a website on it, and running ads to it. And when you told me this idea, I started going on YouTube, and I see all of these people making YouTube videos, how to make 10K per day, doing this, doing that. I'm like, wow, we're gonna have Lambos next week, bro. We're gonna be Lambros. And I started researching that over and over, and I was like, all right, great, let's do it. I thought I had some knowledge on it. That was also the time when I learned that actually, doing something is where you learn it, not just through like reading, watching videos about it. And we'd hop in a call. We started working on it. And I remember we had this idea of making branding onesies. Yep. And you guys probably know what onesies are. And we had this really good marketing idea for it. And we were like, all right, everything's going great. We have this website, beautiful website. We compared to other websites. We were really focused on the competition, which we weren't supposed to do, now that we know. And we will be making a video about that later on. So we were super competition focused, and we were like, we're going to do better than these guys. We're going to do better than these guys. These onesies are going to blow up. Everyone's going to be wearing them.
It's going to be an international trend.
Everyone's going to be wearing them. We're 17 years old. We were thinking we're going to have this house. We were already searching for a house. It's just absolutely naive.
Yep.
It was I don't know thinking back, I just don't recognize who we were and why we were thinking like that.
I think we got a couple punches in the face, put us in our place after that one.
Exactly. And so that's literally what a honeymoon phase is. You first get into something like, this is great. You get super attached to it. You get confused. You start thinking way more emotionally rather than logically.
Yeah, I would agree with that. In the honeymoon phase, like a relationship, you're thinking full on with your emotions, not really with logic. So when we were in our honeymoon phase, we were completely caught up in emotions and logic, and not logic. And what it would do is it would basically make us not see problems that we were experiencing, and just kind of try like, it's not that big of a deal. We're just kind of like push through this, kind of put stuff off to the side.
Exactly. And I kind of want to transition this advice to people who are currently getting into business. Those that have been doing it for at least a few years, in a sense, probably know what we're talking about. But those currently transitioning into business, they're really thinking get rich quick. And yes, get rich quick does exist, but it's super rare. And something that I learned that's very crucial, and you guys really need to listen to this, the amount of time that you think it will take for you to achieve something, multiply that by 2, 3, maybe even 5 and 10.
You got an accurate portrayal.
Exactly. It's going to take way longer to achieve something than you would normally expect.
Now, I was just thinking, actually, the camera might have caught it, but I was just thinking about what I would really think the difference in someone's headspace between when they're in the honeymoon phase and, when they're thinking logically. I think the difference is in the honeymoon phase, thinking about the gains that you're going to make personally and how much money you're going to make. And, when you start thinking realistically, you start figuring out that, hey, you don't make any money and you don't get any revenue, you don't get any growth unless you're helping people and solving some problems.
Yeah.
So I think that's the difference between being in the honeymoon phase and starting to think logically. Is honeymoon, you just think about your gains. Logically, you're thinking about how does this help people and how does that in turn make me revenue.
Exactly. And that's kind of segueing into the whole short-term versus long-term conversation, because when you're thinking short-term, you're thinking fast money, and fast money isn't really great, because we were thinking Shopify, we never really thought about scaling. We never thought, what if this doesn't work out? We weren't building any cash reserves on the side. We were kind of just throwing money into advertisements, throwing money here, throwing money there, just waiting for something to hit.
All willy-nilly.
Literally. And that's pretty much the importance of just being able to think long term, because how much you will make in a business and the skills that you actually learn is fully decided by the amount of people that you help and the amount of people that you provide real value to.
I would say it's definitely a direct correlation.
So yeah, kind of going off that correlation, I also want to say that going through the honeymoon phase is a big factor that determines whether someone will be able to run a business or be an entrepreneur in the long term. Because we've personally known a lot of people that started a business, 2 months in, they ran into problems, lost some money, and right away they stopped and they're like, I'm gonna just focus on school, later on go into real estate, kind of, because when people kind of run into these problems, they kind of think, okay, plan B, I'll just go to school, get a job, save some money, maybe go on real estate stocks. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But it's just that they get so excited of choosing to start a business, quote unquote. A lot of people say, I want to be my own boss. When someone says that, it's
kind of a red flag.
Exactly, big red flag that's the reason you want to do it. And I feel like, again, the honeymoon phase is a big factor that determines someone's success in business over the long run.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think a lot of people, they quit as soon as the honeymoon phase ends, or they find they incur some type of problem. And, I think part of the honeymoon phase is you really just haven't learned your fundamentals yet. Like, there are certain fundamentals that are kind of systemic to every single business you're ever going to do. And when you're in the honeymoon phase, you don't have any idea what those fundamentals are or, how to grow a business at all. And I think there's a couple fundamentals, like I'm trying to think, there's so many. I can't really take some out of my mouth.
There's a lot that you just literally learn over time. Like, there are a lot of fundamentals that we have learned. I'm sure there are more that are so obvious that we don't fully know about yet and haven't grasped. And this is also going to sound cliche. And, I'm sure you guys watching this, you hear this a lot, but you need to fall in love with losing and learn to lose, because if you don't, you're just not going to be happy and you're not going to succeed in business.
I think that's also part of the honeymoon phase. I think everything's going to be like, you're going to get a win every single time. Like, every single ad you're going to run is going to be a win. And in reality, that's not the case. I would say the majority, or at least half of ads, definitely lose money until you find something that does end up winning.
Exactly. And then people also have which we also had, we would have that laser focus for a certain amount of time on one thing.
And then would switch.
And then we'd kind of switch. And then again, that's shiny ball syndrome. You try something, it's working a little bit, then it stops working, you instantly jump into something. You
don't try to fix it at all. You just jump.
That, and also going back into losing, once you're done with the honeymoon phase, you realize you're like, whoa, my social life, not going to fully be there. And yes, I believe balance is important. But again, to achieve that level of balance, you need to go through a very, very, very big level of imbalance. In that, like, for example, dude, my first year of college, I didn't go out at all. We literally, like, you were in LA, I was here. We were constantly in college, just Skyping.
I'd say we'd
Skype
probably 4 to 5 hours a day. At
least.
I
would go to sleep. My eyes were like red, watery, just hurting. Had to get those blue light glasses.
I remember that.
Love those. Guys, get blue light glasses. They will save your life.
Yep.
I literally thought when we first started, everything was going to be while walking the park. Had to start canceling, plans with friends, plans with family, and just being like, oh, I got to be working with Emiliano on this. And there was a period of time when we weren't making any money and we were still going. And at one point, at first, you're like, this isn't fun. Should I be doing this? But at one point, you get so used to it because if you keep going, you're going to get through. And that's what really decides how well you will do after the honeymoon phase.
Yeah, I feel like one of the most annoying feelings in the world is we've experienced this with like things you're doing now and things you've done in the past is, when you're first starting something that you're eventually going to be really good at, the first bits of when you're doing that thing is really, really aggravating because you're like, this is so hard. This is so annoying. But, eventually that you're going to be really, really professional, really good at that. And for instance, we felt that feeling when we were first running ads. We felt that feeling, when I first started learning a little bit of code. I'm still intermediate. I wouldn't consider myself advanced, but there was also that feeling when I first started coding, because I really went from being like, this is so hard to, now I feel a little bit comfortable.
Exactly. And I could speak forward on that, for example, sales
Yep.
and marketing, because with sales, I enjoy talking to people, but the conversation is completely different when you're, want to sell them on something, want to talk to them on why they should, for example, buy your product. And it also becomes much more different when it's no longer in person and much more digital, because, for example, running advertisements, whether it's Google ads through YouTube or Facebook ads on Instagram, people don't go on social media with an intention to buy a product. They go on social media to see what their friends are doing, to post about their life, to show the world, this is what I'm doing. And you need to know how to target people and create really good content in order for people to go on social media, run into your content and be like, oh, wow, I want to see what this person is offering.
And then, speaking of advertisements, I feel a lot of why people think, everything is just going to be easy and they get into the honeymoon phase is because of all this different social media and all these influencers and all like these courses nowadays. People think they're going to buy a course, they're just going to find instant success and think it's going to be, Lambo tomorrow. And we were in that phase for a little bit.
I could definitely speak for that, because I remember 3 months into our first venture, we bought a Shopify course. And this course, so these guys know how to market. They know how to do great copyright. They'll be like, we'll show you this. This is how much money you'll make. And sometimes people say guarantees. Sometimes people give guarantees, which is super, super sketch. If someone is ever guaranteeing you something, stop talking to them. Just stop talking to them.
Unless they're like some huge bank or the government.
That's, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, unless they're like FDIC.
Yeah, and people they show testimonials. They start showing testimonials, and you're like, oh, great. This course is going to work. And then someone takes it. They don't get the proper results. And they message the person, what's the problem? You're like, oh, you got to keep testing, yada, yada, yada. I believe that there's a big difference between doers and teachers. And those that do both are the ones that will get their clients the best results, because they actually know all the ins and outs of the businesses. But there are a lot of people that have gotten maybe a few sales, for example, on a certain platform, and they start charging people to start teaching it. And these people aren't getting results. They don't know why. And then they took this course with a lot of excitement in their souls, thinking, and then again,
I feel like there's also a huge pandemic nowadays of people who buy courses to make a course on the same exact thing. I feel like that's definitely out there nowadays. Like, people will be like, oh, buy my Shopify course, and then what you don't know is they bought someone else's course, just copied it, and then did basically just pump their numbers through a lot of ads, lost money, and then they're selling a course on that.
We like to call that reverse engineering. And the reverse engineering is great, but depends how you use it. Like, for example, say someone has a great website that you kind of want to mimic and turn into your own. That's completely fine.
And we've done that.
We've done that.
Copied some good aspects of websites.
You want to go look what people that say, for example, you as the viewer, you're trying to get into real estate. You want to go learn how to do it from those that are at the top of the game, because they know what they're talking about and they can solve a lot of your problems and really help you skip the learning curve. But there are people that do it unethically, which is a great example of what you just mentioned.
Yeah, I think coming back to what I said earlier, I think a lot of people getting caught in the honeymoon phase, just social media. Honestly, like, people see all these people traveling and like going to Lambos, and what they don't realize, these people have been at it for a lot of years. Like, for instance, we travel and we post sometimes we post some flash stuff on Instagram. What people don't realize, we've been doing business for probably about almost 3.5 years now, I'd say. And, people just don't understand that, and think within their first 6 months, even their first year, they're going to get results like that. And, quite frankly, it's just not the reality.
Yeah, it's because people rent cars for $200 a day, record a bunch of videos and pretend it's their own.
A lot of people like that.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie, we fell for that.
Yeah, we fell for that in the past. We were first starting. We were in the honeymoon phase. We fell for stuff like that. We'd buy courses. We'd be like, oh, this is going to work. And we just do a lot of that stuff.
So, yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up what we wanted to go over. Guys, take what we really take to heart what we spoke about today. And you may be someone that's getting into business and you're seeing advertisements of people with expensive cars, all this great stuff, or like selling a lifestyle that you necessarily might want to live. And be very careful with what you're seeing, because social media could easily fool someone. 100%. And we've seen how people are able to manipulate it.
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple examples of friends that we know of that, just got into business and buy all these courses, or like just different stuff. They're buying stuff like Bitcoin and think they're gonna get rich immediately, and it's just not the case.
I'm losing money, literally. So yeah, guys, go ahead and subscribe, like, comment, let us know what you thought about this video. Again, Our social media platforms are in the description below. Feel free to message us on any of them. We love networking and communicating with new people. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you later.